Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU. This is a currently 7.7 BR rank 5 premium tank destroyer in the Italian Ground Forces tech tree, those under the Hungarian flag. The pack that it comes in currently costs $49.99 USD when not on sale, and comes with 2,000 Golden Eagles and 15 days of premium time. With that said, in this video, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about this tank destroyer, including its stats, how it plays. I'll go over its strengths and weaknesses, I'll give us some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation and if I feel this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. With that said, if you like this kind of video, please consider subscribing as it helps me tremendously, but without further ado, let's get into the review. Now to start, I'll place its stat card here on the side of the screen. Important things to note are its armor thickness, its cannon, and its top speed. Now for how it plays. Because of its size, mobility, firepower, and overall lack of survivability, the PzH 2000HU is best when played out of sight of the enemy, preferably as a sniper. The 2000HU is absolutely gigantic, which makes it into an easily seen and kill target in most instances, which may make sniping a challenge. Thankfully though, it features a laser rangefinder and relatively high velocity 155mm OEF-3HE shells that should make sniping both relatively simple and easy. Further, thanks to your surprisingly good mobility, the 2000HU can move somewhat quickly around the map, getting to new sniping spots throughout the battle. Or if you're feeling lucky, you can try to flank, though this is more of a secondary role of this vehicle. Unfortunately, the 2000HU is extremely powerful at what it does, which in War Thunder is mostly sniping, but is also fairly niche because of its size and lack of armor. In theory, you could also briefly brawl with this vehicle, as it has as low as a 5-second reload, but such fights will likely result in the destruction of the 2000HU. If nothing else, so long as you know exactly where to hit the enemy tank, such as at the top of their turret, if they're angled in such a way where it won't ricochet your shell, or at the lower front and sides of the turret, you should reliably get one-shot kills with this vehicle. Unfortunately, due to the mechanics of overpressure and how HE works in War Thunder in general, one-shot kills will not always happen when they should, though it should still occur the vast majority of the time on a reasonably good hit. But hey, at least they don't lose potency, no matter how far away the enemy is from you. Still, because of the low chance of a non-kill after a hit, I would only use the PzH 2000HU in sniping roles when possible, switching to flanking if you can do so while it's relatively safe. Brawling is possible, but only on opponents that are totally unaware of their surroundings, and if you're doing it for the memes. Now with all that said, let's get into its strengths and weaknesses, and first for its strengths. It has a reload rate of just 5 seconds, so long as you have first stage ammo stowage stowed away. Second, this vehicle features extremely powerful HE shells that will oftentimes one-hit kill enemies. Third, it carries proxy fuse shells that are most useful against aircraft. Fourth, it has a laser rangefinder, which is somewhat uncommon at this BR and makes longer range shots substantially easier. For its fifth strength, it has excellent cannon elevation of up to 65 degrees. Sixth, it has surprisingly good mobility with a decent 17.3 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio and a very good 60 km/h top speed and reverse speed. For its seventh strength, it has a fairly spacious interior that means that, barring an ammo rack explosion, multiple shots will oftentimes be needed to kill the Panzerhaubitze 2000. For its eighth strength, the gunner and commander's optics have up to 8 times zoom, which is fairly good relative to BR. Beyond this, it carries smoke grenades alongside the ability to carry very large and effective smoke shells. And finally, it features premium RP and SL bonuses. Now with that said, let's get into its weaknesses. And first, the Panzerhaubitze is absolutely gigantic and has its turret on the back of the hull. This means that you will oftentimes need to expose a large portion of your vehicle to shoot from behind cover. Further, the cannon is also huge, which means that it will be damaged and destroyed very easily and will oftentimes give away your position. Second, not that this is necessarily a weakness, but the vehicle tool in the bottom left corner of the screen may show that you have a stabilizer, but it only means that it's for the commander sight and some other internal modules, not the cannon itself. This vehicle does not have a cannon stabilizer. Third, it has terrible cannon depression of just -2 degrees. For its fourth weakness, while they will oftentimes one-shot enemies, the HE shells sometimes do no damage at all. It largely depends on where you hit an enemy. It's very much a feast or famine type shell. Further, they explode if they hit anything between you and the enemy, which makes longer range shots, especially in forests and cities, potentially very annoying and sometimes difficult or even impossible, whereas other shell types could perform those same shots easily. For its fifth weakness, this vehicle can only carry variations on HE shells and of course a smoke shell, no heat shells or any other type of anti-tank shell. For its sixth weakness, it features a fairly slow turret traverse rate of between 7.88 and 11.8 1.25 degrees per second, depending on crew skill. For its 7th weakness, first stage ammo stowage is only 2 rounds, plus of course the 1 in your breech, which means that after those few shots you will take a bit longer to reload. It took me about 7.5 seconds to reload each shot without any stowed ammo. 8th, this vehicle is very thin armor, with only 30mm of thickness at the front of the hull and turret, and 10mm everywhere else. The top of the turret has 10mm thick of armor, plus 60mm composite screens, but this will rarely matter outside of strafing runs and extremely unusual cannon shots against the roof. For its 9th weakness, it has large ammo racks, especially at the bottom and rear of the turret. This forces you to only carry a small amount of ammo into each match if you don't want to be constantly ammo racked. And finally, the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU features a very large autoloader that makes loading impossible if it's heavily damaged or destroyed, which will unfortunately be very common. Now with all that said, let's get into how I score this vehicle. And first, for its armament, I give it an 8.25 out of 10. The Panzerhaubitze 2000HU has an incredibly powerful HE shell that has enough HE filler and muzzle velocity to easily hit and destroy most targets in one hit, especially once you start learning where to actually hit the enemy. It also has a laser rangefinder, which helps to do this even more. Add in a proxy fuse HE shell for taking out aircraft, as well as a reload rate that can be as low as 5 seconds, and you have an extremely capable armament in the 2000HU. The only armament problems with this vehicle are that the ready rack that provides the 5-second reload is only 2 rounds, whereas you'll have a 7.5 second reload until you reload the ammo rack. It also only has an LMG on top, which doesn't add or subtract points in my opinion, but an LMG, it's not all that great. Additionally, the -2 degrees of cannon depression really hurts when trying to stay concealed while firing at an enemy. Now for mobility, I give it a 6.75 out of 10. While its overall mobility might seem meh, at least based on its stats, as it has a 17.3 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, the 2000HU can actually move quite well. This is due in large part to the excellent transmission that provides an excellent 60km/h top speed moving both forward and reverse. Despite the immense size of this beast, it is surprisingly quick, but not nearly as much as a light tank or even the Vidar, but it's still much quicker than I feel like most people would think that it is. Now for survivability, I give it a 3.25 out of 10. On one hand, the armor of the 2000HU is incredibly thin, while the vehicle itself is huge and has gigantic ammo and fuel storage. On the other hand, because of the size of this vehicle and the thinness of its armor, it will oftentimes survive a shot through the front of the turret, as the enemy shell will either minimally spall or won't even explode at all, depending on what type of shell hits you. Of course, this isn't an ideal scenario, but you'd be surprised by how many shots only take out 1 or 2 of the 5 crew members. With a somewhat automatic reload system, it might not impact you as much as you'd think. Add in 8 smoke grenades and a huge smoke shell, and you have a vehicle that still isn't very survivable, but can take a few hits before dying, which makes it a bit less of a glass cannon than you might expect, but it's still at least plexiglass, I guess you might want to say. Now overall, I give it a 6.75 out of 10. Yeah, I know, the exact average of my scores is lower than my 6.75 overall score, but I'm weighing survivability a bit less due to the type of vehicle that this is and the roles that it will typically play. With that said, the 2000HU is a very capable artillery type TD with very powerful HE shells, a laser rangefinder, and surprisingly great mobility. While it lacks in the survivability aspect, so long as you utilize the strengths of the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU and try to minimize its weaknesses, it should stay alive for quite a while whilst trying to provide high explosive sniper fire to assist your team in winning matches. Now with that said, do I recommend the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU for purchase? Yes, at least if you're specifically looking for a good vehicle to grind through the Italian ground tech tree. Otherwise, if you're looking for an artillery type tank destroyer and don't care which nation it's in, I would still 100% recommend the Vidar in the Swedish ground tech tree over the PzH 2000HU. It's not that the PzH 2000 is bad, because it's actually really good, but the Vidar is superior in almost every appreciable way, including the fact that it has Gen 3 thermals, it's faster, also has a laser rangefinder, it has better armor, and is slightly smaller than the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU, all while having equally powerful shells. Heck, it even has a 50 cal HMG instead of the LMG on the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU, though the Vidar also lacks smoke grenades, which the PzH does not. Of course, this is largely why it's a higher BR, but even considering that BR difference, the Vidar is just so damn good. Regardless, even though the Vidar exists, it does not take anything away from the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU, of which is a great artillery TD in its own right. It's perfectly capable in many ways and is more than sufficient for its role as a tank to leader, especially at medium and long ranges. So yes, if you want a capable and fun tank destroyer to play for the Italians, the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU fits the bill, and I recommend it for purchase. If you're looking for something a bit cheaper, the Tigris is also a great option, though it can research through less of the Italian ground tech tree without an RP penalty, so buyer beware. I also give the Panzerhaubitze 2000HU my Tankenstein seal of approval. While it will sometimes get hits that feel like they should be kills and they don't even harm the enemy, as War Thunder's overpressure mechanics are still a bit wonky, the PzH 2000HU is still a fairly reliable one-shot kill beast that I feel that many people will have a good time using, especially if they have the ability to be able to use it at a range. Now with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel as they both help me tremendously. Additionally, let me know what you guys think about the PzH 2000HU and of this video in the comments below. Either way, thanks again. I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.